was leaving, he hit a snowbank. He was on skis, he hit a snowbank and ripped the belly totally out of the airplane. So his 2 or 3 day trip turned into about 2 months. and these aircraft are far, far more reliable than the old aircraft that my dad worked on. I have some of his old books from when he was training and whatnot. And the engine that's in SAM, it initially had a TBO of 25 hours. That was back in World War II. And by the time he came along, it was maybe 500 or 600 hours. In contrast, the engines in these aircraft will go, I think we're up to about 5,100 hours before overhaul. So they're far, far more reliable.
The airplane engine actually fired and then quit. So we couldn't get it going. So I spoke with the chief engineer of the day, and he was a pretty wise guy. And he said, Art, you're going to have to pull the front bank of plugs and clean them all up before you do anything. Then you're going to have to get heat somehow to that engine, because he said it's not going to start with those temperatures. So he's told me to pull this cowling down, this part lower cowling, pulls away. After cleaning the plugs, the only heat we could get was a big flamethrower. And I was terrified, frankly, because I had just left the RCAF, where I didn't go within 50 feet of an airplane with a cigarette in my mouth. And now I was being asked to put a flame that long and about that wide underneath this engine. So we got a 5-gallon can, and we used it as a burner. And I got the biggest fire extinguisher I could get from the fire hall, because I was not going to put that flame under there without being able to have something to put it out if things went awry. There was a tarp, canvas tarp, draped down over the top of the engine, and the heat was applied. And even though the temperature was 20 below or colder, we had temperatures on the gauges in the airplane by the time I got through applying heat. But every once in a while, a spot of oil would come down and hit that 5-gallon can, which was red hot, and I would be shaking in my boots. But anyway, eventually, we had temps showing, we got the thing fired up, and end of the story. The airplane ran fine.
Well, this is my pilot's logbook from the Air Force, and it's had a few additions added onto it. I haven't tallied up the number of flights. I should do that, but I haven't done it. But I've got 19,637, I think, total. Now, as far as the crop spraying and the military, there's about 2,000 there. So 17,000 with the air ambulance. One time I had 14 trips booked up, and I flew 41 hours. I didn't fly all that time, but I was off all that time. One night we went out around 10, came back, and we had another 2 hours before we could take off to get another one. So that was lunch at the bus depot. But the 41 hours I was there working, so was the nurse.
I would have to tell you that Loon Lake was a revelation to me. Again, I came out of the Air Force where we were landing on 200-foot wide runways with nice open grass space on each side of that. And first time I had to fly into Loon Lake, I knew that the air ambulance flew in there. They had an airstrip. When I saw that airstrip with bush both sides of it, and when I first looked at it, I thought, well, are my wings going to fit in here? You know, it looked so narrow. I remember thinking twice, well, I got to do it, because the other air ambulance pilot, Art Davis, flies in and out of here, so I'm going to have to do it. So I landed there. I can remember to turn around, to come back to, I landed and used up, say, 3/4 of the runway length. To turn around, I had to put my right wing into the bushes and stand on the brake and come around. My wing was touching the bushes on the other side as I turned back. So it was pretty narrow, but that became easy after probably the 5th time. The first 2 times it looked impossible.
It was something like landing on the old railroad grade in Loon Lake. That one was fenced on both sides. It was very narrow for skis. I did it 3 or 4 times, and then I thought, why don't I use the lake? I was at Leoville, and a phone call from the doctor there, and so I said, well, I'm on wheels. We haven't trained to change the skis yet. How's the snow? Well, there's some snow here. And I said, well, would you take a car and go and drive up and down that field that's just south of town? Just the full length and back again so I can tell what it's like. It's a little bit rolling. Okay. So away I go, and there's no car tracks in that field. So I had to do it on my own. I got down all right. I had a good wind, so I was down all right. But taxiing back, coming over one of the knolls, and the wind behind me got the tail end upside, and the wheels stopped in deeper snow, and we were upside down.
In the old days, when the service first started, they would land literally in a farmer's field. And landing in a farmer's field, you've got rocks, you've got gopher holes, you've got all sorts of obstacles, even balers and all sorts of stuff to contend with. So, in the old days, they they did take quite a beating. Airplanes flipping over and having to go out to a farmer's field and package them up, put them on a train, and send them back to the Regina hangar, and where he would come in and start with a piece of junk, and a couple months later, a virtually brand new airplane would roll out the hangar door ready to go again.
When my career first started, this was the aircraft that was being used at that time. And I do recall my very first trip was to Swift Current to pick up a patient who had had a stroke and was unconscious. And it was a very, very windy day in May. And turbulence, very, very bad turbulence, and I got airsick. And I remember thinking, I'm so glad that you're unconscious and you don't see that I'm the one that's airsick. But the turbulence in this little plane used to be quite bad.
Well, one time at Uranium City, it was fogged in. We had no way of communicating with them, unless you're within 20 miles. But I saw Norcan Air's DC-3 coming back. They shouldn't be coming back yet. But there they went, and I couldn't talk to them either. So we carried on. The fog was right over Athabasca. We got to the South Shore. And then they had a weak beacon up there that we tuned into. And that was pretty close to the runway, but not close enough to to get on it, so I gave it another try. And I was on the south edge of the runway, and in the wintertime they put out little Christmas trees along the runways. If it hadn't have been for that, I'd never seen it, because the runway had snow on it and everything. But I saw that strip and I knew what it was, and went to the end of it down the hill, and then quick turn back and landing uphill. We got away with that one. I had the old one, and I didn't have enough gas to get back to Orange even. So it was a push thing,
Mostly we flew this airplane under visual flight rules, not IFR, which is instrument flight rules. But occasionally we were forced to get into cloud. Coming back, going out to the country, there's no point in getting up in the cloud because you'd have no way of finding your country location. There is enough here to get you by, but like this is called a directional indicator, and that is very primitive. The new ones are much fancier. That's called a hockey puck. A lot of pilots today wouldn't even know what that is. There's no de-icing equipment. So what I did was slow the airplane down to somewhere in the vicinity of 100 miles an hour, roll the window down, and take my comb or whatever I could get and scrape like this, a patch, so that I could see enough to make it to where I was going. And of course, if we got too much ice, well, we'd have to land. I'm flying under cloud, maybe like drizzle coming down or something, icing on the window. And when the wings got too much, we'd land on skis in a farmer's field and get out and rope the wings off, shut it down, rope the wings off, the ice off the wings, and take off again. We only did that for, when it had to be a serious case, and the doctor had to have told me that, it was urgent, and you'd have to feel that if I didn't do it then, that the patient's life was seriously at risk. And under those conditions, we did do things that I wouldn't necessarily recommend.
Quite often they lit strips with car lights, but that wasn't always possible.
There were 3 flares in here that could be popped for night landings on unprepared airstrips and on areas where the pilot was unfamiliar with the airstrip, with no landing lights, of course. There were no runway lights on these. If we popped the flare, it was because you wanted to confirm that what was down there was safe to land an airplane on.
These were loaded so the pilot could eject a flare, which was on a little parachute, so it would take a while to come down, and it would give us time to swing around and come back and land by the light of this flare. And it worked really quite well most of the time. But one time, one of the flares on one of my trips, the little parachute got caught on the tail of the airplane. So we're going around, but the flare is following us all the way around. Another flare had been loaded backwards, and so when the pilot ejected it went swinging past the nurse on the back of the seat. And it wasn't my flight again. I'm not sure if it actually stopped at the side of the airplane or if it made a hole in it or just what happened. But accidents did happen. Theory, it was really, really great, but sometimes things happened.
The first thing that happens when a call comes in is the communications center will take some information, kick the call out to a nurse, and the nurse then prioritizes how important the trip is. Often we get 2, 3, 4 phone calls coming in at a time. If it was one call every 8 to 12 hours, that would be nice, but as with everything else known to mankind, they tend to come in bunches. So the nurse will prioritize it. So we transport everybody from the most critically ill, heart attacks, strokes, trauma cases, down to other cases where maybe it's not that much of an emergency, but there's no ground ambulance and the patient cannot be moved any other way. We had a few deaths on board, some babies and some elderly. One that was interesting to me, it was a midnight thing too, to this town north of Leader. This fella had been, he was working on his dump truck, didn't block the box. Hydraulics he was working on, and down it came on his head. Now how much of it, I don't know, but anyway, he lived. Another one that I didn't do, I'm not sure whether it was Bradshaw that did it, but out of Carrot River, they picked up a van that was out clearing bush with a blade, bulldozer. A chunk of tree, I guess it was about, maybe 2 inches round, maybe 1.5 inches, came straight in on him, right through his chest. So all the doctor could do was cut both ends off, and so they carried him in, and I think he got away with it too.
Back in the early years, about 1963, I believe that's close to 63 anyway, I was called to Gainsborough, Saskatchewan, southeastern Saskatchewan, to pick up a young girl, approximately 9 years, 8, somewhere between 7 and 9 years old. She had been lowered into a well, a sunken well that had dried up, to retrieve something that had been dropped down there. And I don't know what happened, but apparently the well exploded. There was gas in the well and exploded, and she was badly burned to the stage where it was approximately that number, and I can't remember it. The nurses would know, where the chance of survival became problematic. However, I remember being very touched by